Now on 1 BBC News West.
The row over a trip to Africa for a 17-year-old young offender.
I doubt very much whether there will be any trips in the near future.
And a second sacrilege in a Somerset graveyard. Good evening. There will be no more foreign trips for young offenders from Gloucestershire after social workers were criticised for sending a 17-year-old to Africa. The journey was organised by a rehabilitation centre in North Wales and paid for by the County Council. But the youth was arrested for an alleged drink-driving offence just days after his return to this country.
A trip intended to change the lifestyle of a persistent young offender. 3 months on the Nile and in the desert, at a cost of £7,000 to the taxpayer. The aim was to help him improve his behaviour, but he's now been arrested again. He'd been sent there by a therapy centre in North Wales, Bryn Melyn, which treats young people who consistently get into trouble. But this may be the last holiday Gloucestershire County Council pays for. Public and political outcry have forced them to admit a safari may not be the solution.
I doubt very much whether there will be any trips in the near future. The need for review has come because of the increased numbers being sent to secure accommodation. Our general concern about what's happening with juvenile justice. We have been also concerned, obviously, about the amount of media attention that's been focusing on Bryn Melyn.
Talks have already taken place between social services and the centre to find a more acceptable form of rehabilitation. But even those opposed to sending youngsters abroad say it's cheaper than locking them up in a secure unit, although they still worry about the image that such a venture conjures up.
It just seems to me to be something which brings the whole system of treatment of young offenders in the community into discredit.
For now, Gloucestershire County Council have decided this therapy package deal isn't working. But with MPs due to debate a new criminal justice bill, the decision may well be taken out of the hands of local authorities and into those of the courts.
The Bristol lorry driver who was freed from a Turkish jail says he's not going back, although he's due to appear in court again next month. Peter Thomas received a warm welcome when he returned to his home in Bedminster an hour ago. He was one of 3 drivers from a hauliers in Gloucestershire who were arrested by border police on export fraud charges. 46-year-old Mr. Thomas looked tired but relieved after spending a month in appalling conditions.
The bedding was dirty, never gets washed, just thrown back in another cell and used again. It's just, well, really bad.
So what's it like to be home?
Oh, brilliant. Got home for the new year anyway, that's, one thing. Like, I miss Christmas, but I'm home for the new year, so try and make it up.
A Gloucestershire oil company has paid out more than £200,000 to Somerset farmers whose property was damaged in one of the biggest fires in railway history. 16 of Gulf Oil's fuel tankers caught fire at Bradford-on-Tone near Taunton, setting alight nearby farmland. But the Cheltenham-based firm has not admitted liability for the fire. For the second time in less than a fortnight, a graveyard in Somerset has been vandalised. Headstones were smashed, even turf from a freshly dug grave was ripped up and thrown away.
This morning, the Reverend David Whitmarsh from Cheddar Baptist Church was once again weighing up the damage to his graveyard. Valuable and ornate headstones smashed, gravestones overturned. Even the turf from this fresh grave had been torn up and thrown away. It has been hastily replaced so that relatives of the deceased are not greeted by the vandalism.
It is obviously a very sensitive issue, cemeteries and memorials, and they're simple memorials the families have placed here for in memory of their loved ones, and we're saddened that that peacefulness here has been desecrated.
Crime in Cheddar has spiralled in the past year, up 25%. A security firm now patrols the local school, which has been targeted by vandals. Now it seems they have turned to wrecking graveyards instead. Mark Ashton, BBC News West, Cheddar.
Well, those are tonight's main stories. But this week, we're also looking back at the year's news. The stories have ranged from the tragic plane crash which killed a Wiltshire aircrew to the joy of a little boy whose life may have been saved by Bristol doctors. Nigel Gainsborough has compiled this report on the news that affected the West in '93.
Today's County Council debate here at Shire Hall provoked a demonstration the like of which hasn't been seen in Taunton for many years. In the end, it was defeat for the Hunters.
We've got a vote 26 to 22!
An inconvenience forced on them by councillors who certainly wouldn't have been welcomed here today.
Shoot the buggers!
Villagers of all ages gathered at the entrance to the proposed site on the outskirts of Middlezoy as news of the council officer's arrival got round.
They're going to be spending their dole money in the pub, they're going to be rampaging around, and everybody will be terrified to go out of their doors at night. It's going to completely ruin the village and the area.
If they arrest 50 people from this site, 50 people from that field behind you will take their place.
The northbound carriageway of the M5 near Bristol completely blocked as a convoy of New Age travellers came to a standstill.
After days trailing the ragged convoys, the two sides faced up to each other in the high street of the Cotswold village of Morton in Marsh.
They call themselves New Age travellers. In Gloucestershire, Madam Speaker, they're known as New Age vermin.
Well, I sympathise, Madam Speaker, very strongly with the citizens of Gloucester.
Just over 1,000 people are employed here. With today's announcement, a quarter of the workforce will lose their jobs over the next few weeks.
Workers here thought the government's commitment to the project would guarantee their short-term future at least. Now up to 400 more jobs could be at risk.
I had the same thing, exactly the same trouble in 1980. Another irresponsible claim backed by an irresponsible union, and my response was the same. I sacked the law.
Don't smoke because they're big rapping. Yeah, duty 30. Yeah, duty 30.
I bought 1,750 shares. That was, at the time they were £1 each. Today I understand I'm worth nearly $250,000 or something like that.
No one could believe that this had happened to us at Lyman. After such a long period of accident-free flying.
something inside your head and inside the whole of your body telling you to take it. And for somebody who's never taken it before, you can't begin to understand what it's like. It's like a disease, and it makes you take it.
I clung to his hand really tight, and I hurt my hand doing it, but there was no way I was going to let him go. I just grabbed him and hugged him, and I'm not like that with fellas, but I couldn't let go of him. I really couldn't. It was brilliant.
And doctors will know in the new year whether the treatment given to Rees has succeeded. But it's an optimistic end to 1993. Let's hope for the best. Well, now in sport, the West's under-21 women's hockey team is leading at the territorial tournament in Swindon. Teams from across the country have been competing in the event, with the deciding matches taking place tomorrow. And tonight, soccer fans will turn their attention to Hillsborough, where Sheffield Wednesday entertain Swindon Town. On to the weather, and squally showers are expected in most areas this evening. Temperatures will fall to 4 degrees Celsius, 9 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow will be windy with the possibility of heavy rain. Well, that's it for now. I'm back with more regional news on your BBC local radio throughout the evening. The next from me here on 1 is at 9:25. From the News West team, a very good evening to you.